We get the best movies and the
Yeah,
best songs.
I love the fact that you guys get the movie references, though, because a lot of
'Cause
people
we're
that I
old.
interact with don't get the references. And they're like, why are you doing that? Like, oh,
It happens a lot at work, you know?
Fire.
You throw one that you're sure it's going to like, everybody's going to see it and just run with it. And what you get is like blank stare. Why is the old man talking like that again?
yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah,
Fire.
cool.
Fire.
Fire.
I remember when we used to do things. Yeah.
Yeah, movies are. I have a Fight Club reference.
You don't talk about Fight Club.
Yes, but it's in my threat modeling. It's in my workshop, and so I put up this slide that says, okay, and now I'm going to explain to you the rules of threat modeling club, and it's got like the Fight Club poster with threat modeling interspersed on top, where Fight Club was. And so it says threat modeling club, and then I'm like, okay, there's 3 rules. Like the first rule is we don't talk about threat modeling club. Second rule, we don't talk about threat modeling club. The third rule, I wasn't witty enough to come up with one, so you'll have to give me one after. And the fourth rule, if it's your first time at threat modeling club, you have to threat model. But the funny thing is, like, I look across the room and I see the people that get it, and these people are like, what is this guy doing?
Oh, gosh.
All right.
Where's this word going?
Yeah. Why aren't people just following all the cultural things that we've experienced in the last 35 years and applying them to their lives?
35.
I just made that up. I pick random numbers for examples all the time.
We went
Nobody
back
ever
in
calls
time.
me on it. Thanks, Matt. Until now.
No.
All right, Matt. You wanted to tee this up for us. You have a discussion topic that somebody brought to you. So I'd love to hear kind of the background story of it.
Yeah. So just an idle conversation, I suppose, but a serious one. What does it take to be an expert in threat modeling? It's a simple question, but it's not an easy answer, is it? So what is an expert in threat modeling?
That's the question, yeah.
I mean, so we're all considered experts in threat modeling, right? Well, I think people think we're experts in threat modeling. I hope we are.
I would clarify that. Other people have
Recognize.
given that moniker to the work that we've done, especially you guys with the book and everything. But I think the first thing to think about when we're talking about what makes an expert is anyone who declares themselves as an expert is in fact not an expert, because you may not self-proclaim that you're an expert. And I see people do it on LinkedIn all the time. Like their bio is like, security expert. Like, no, you can't write that. Like the AI can write it about you, but you can't write it about yourself.
With 35 years experience.
Okay. All right. Hold on. That wasn't a valid comment because AI has been a research field for more than 50 years.
No, wait. But if you have
Right.
to be like an expert, you have to be an expert in the current thing. Otherwise, you're a historian.
Expert. That's a good title. Expert or historian.
So wait, are you saying that all those experts in COBOL programming are really historians of COBOL?
True. Yeah. Actually.
No, because COBOL hasn't changed since. At least not the last time that I looked at it.
Dude,
But-
if you're a COBOL programmer in this day and age, you're a baller. Because like nobody
Yeah.
can touch you.
No,
You
you're
can
making
literally
money.
you can
You're
literally
making
come
lots
into
of money.
work and like your boss says you need to do this, and you're like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna sit over here, and if something breaks, I'll fix it.
Okay.
Cool. Just don't get mad and leave, because there's only 4 of you left in the world. All right, expert. So I
Expert.
gave a kind of a, so you can't self-proclaim. I think we all agree on that. You can't anyone who self-proclaims as an expert is not an expert at all, because you can't do that. You have to be, so part of what makes somebody a threat modeling expert, I would say the first principle I'll throw on the table is you have to be recognized by other people in the field as for your accomplishments, achievements, whatever that you're doing.
But wait. Then it's people in the field all the way down. who was the first expert that could recognize other people as threat modeling experts, and who recognized him as
Come
or
on.
her
But
as an expert.
It's not a chicken and egg problem. Come on, we didn't have to go to chicken and egg for this. What came first, the chicken or the egg? So is it the threat modeling expert or the ability to recognize other people?
There was a first one. So who was the first one, and what can we learn from him or her about being a threat modeling expert?
Well, okay, so if we have to take it back to the history of threat modeling, oh my God, I can't believe we would do this. It didn't start with Microsoft, right? It started with those folks who were building stuff, rockets, right? Or, even further back, I'm sure, but, let's talk about things like...
Apparently those folks right now have forgotten how to do it, but let's not go there.
Okay, but we've also, the threat modeling has evolved, right? Threat modeling was all about risk analysis and looking for hazards and threats and things like that. And, so you have papers from, say, NIST, right? This risk management framework is an early threat modeling document. If you take it to an extreme, yes, think about what you're working on, look at the threats, document them, figure out which ones are real, which ones aren't, and then do something about it, right? Whether that's do nothing or transfer the risk or whatever. But that's an early form of threat modeling, or that is the early threat modeling. And that's certainly not the first. So expertise, an individual with it as an expert versus an industry expertise. I don't know. I'm just grasping at straws here. Well, right, because how do you answer the question? Are you a historian?
We are all historians because we're older.
No, I mixed stuff up. I read and forgot all the stuff, so I just make it up.
Or
What do you in?
do you want to ask
Izar
somebody?
GPT.
Do you want to ask somebody who the first threat modeler is and see what comes up? I don't want to do that search, but please go ahead if you want to.
I have it open here totally by...
Sure, curious, right? You.
Who was the first recognized threat modeling expert?
Oh. Let's see if someone poisoned the training data.
Okay.
All
50
right.
bucks to the first one that says which name will popped up.
Adam Shostak.
Ding, 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 ding. Give the
That
man a
was pretty easy.
ChatGPT.
I
yeah.
think to Matt's point, though, that's not...
He's not the first.
Oh,
Yeah.
but wait, let's see why. The first widely recognized expert in threat modeling is Adam Shostak. He played a key role in formalizing threat modeling practices and is well known for his contributions while working at Microsoft, where he helped develop the STRIDES threat modeling methodology. Shostak's 2014 book, Threat Modeling, Designing for Security, is considered foundational text on the subject and has influenced how many organizations approach threat modeling today.
Yeah. I think
Well,
that's
I'll
actually false because...
There's three people at Microsoft who might be very upset about that answer.
Yeah, and I think Lauren is the one who created... Lauren Konfelder and somebody else created Stride.
Wait. But he says he played the key role in formalizing. Didn't say that he created it.
Okay.
Where he helped develop the Stride. So, yeah.
Okay.
No.
Gotcha.
Tell you the truth, I'm fine with this answer. I'll accept it.
Sure.
Okay. So what makes...
Because he's the first public one. Like he is
Yeah.
like the name that we usually call him the ambassador of this thing, right? He's the first public face in this thing.
Yeah.
All the greats that came before him were more subdued, more foundational, more how do we do this thing in here?
Well, so that's an interesting... So now what you're bringing up is, to be an expert, do you have to be outgoing?
No, but I think that we sort of allude to that when we said you have to be recognized by others, right? If you don't have a public face, you're not seen, if you're not heard of, it makes it harder for people to recognize you as such.
Yeah, but you don't have to be recognized by people across the industry. You could be recognized by people inside your own company, for example, and I would still say you're an expert, even though you're not going to get the publicity because, like, that's one of the things I'm doing on the AppSec podcast right now is for the next couple of months, we're trying to only interview people who have not been in the limelight, because
Oh, that's nice.
we've been in an echo chamber for how many years, and I look at who we've interviewed there, and it's kind of the same group of people rotating in and out. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's time to get some new voices. It's time to get some new people, because there's a lot of people doing cool stuff in our industry. They just don't run the conference scene like we do. And
Well,
then
sorry,
Go.
even before that, though, I would, at one point, or I guess previously, the conference scene wasn't even the recognition, right? You would get recognition from like ACM or IEEE or one of those other academic
True.
organizations or industry organizations that were driving the field forward, right?
Yeah.
So
True. So we came back from San Francisco actually with one or two names that we'll give it later. Some really cool new people that deserve to be listened to. But back to being
so what we need, how do we get to what does it take to be an expert? So being recognized by others and not self-recognizing is number one, right? So we start on the list here of, you can't self-declare expert. You can self-declare an expertise, I would say, right? So we are all security threat modelers, right? Some people are privacy threat modelers. So I think you can claim expertise, self-proclaim expertise, although it's nice to have, sort of reputation for that by others. Again, whether it's within the company or in the public space. So can't self-declare expert. Can have an affinity towards certain technologies or domains or other things. You could do process, or you do technology, whatever. But what else does it take to be a threat modeling expert?
How about experience? Like what level? So let's use Adam as a guinea pig here, right? Because a lot of people know about what he's done and accomplished. And so I would say part of what makes Adam an expert and a recognized expert is the fact that he has real world experience. So he worked in the Microsoft environment, trying to not only understand and master this concept, but also roll it out to lots of other people.
Yeah. So I was thinking, as I was trying to think of an answer for my colleague, I was thinking about this. So when you're threat modeling, you have to be familiar, obviously, with the process of threat modeling that you're using. So you have to be familiar with, Stride and DVDs and
DVDs.
Oh my God. Yeah. Throwback. You were talking about throwback technology, right?
yeah, probably old.
To those younger people listening to the show, a DVD is a disc that we used to put into a machine to watch a movie.
Wait, I think that I have a threat modeling course in VHS here somewhere.
For those who don't know, VHS is a block of stuff with a tape inside that we used to put into a brick to attach to our TV.
And before that, there were smoke signals.
Well, remember a laser disc where we used to take a bigger disc and put it on the.
Remember?
I do. I had one.
So I was trying to say DFD, data flow diagram, and sequence diagram. So you have to be familiar with that. But if you're not familiar with the technology that you're threat modeling, is that okay? I mean, we can't possibly know all of the technologies and all the constructs and all the patterns and all the things, right? That's why we don't threat model alone. That's why we're not the hero threat modelers, right?
Yeah, so I would say that not only that's not a requirement, that would even be that would even score against you, I think.
Because part of your superpower.
I think that
because it biases you, maybe?
No, perhaps, but I think that the real difference between, and actually we could go back to that famous pyramid of education and all that stuff, but I think that what makes an expert is the fact that their foundational knowledge, that their understanding of how in threat modeling, the understanding of how things break in general and being able to spot those patterns into whatever scenario is put in front of them. Sometimes it will be a bit more educational. You have to sit down and read the docs and whatnot. That's always a must. But the finesse of being able to identify a thread and pull on it and almost always get to something that's valuable, I think that's a big difference between somebody you can call an expert and somebody who you perhaps not yet.
Yeah.
And developing that thing is the secret.
I would go a step further. So I agree with what you just said. I think that's part of being an expert, is being able to see the patterns, but not understanding or having to be an expert in all the technologies, but being able to see the patterns in many different types of technologies. I would take it a step further and say, if you're going to call yourself an expert, or if someone's going to call you an expert at threat modeling, I expect that you can draw that out of other people in a collaborative environment. So you can, and so like what I love to do, I love to use the Socratic method. And I joke about this, but I would say 50% of the time I feel like I know the answer to the question that I ask of a development team, for example, in a threat modeling session. Probably the other 50%, I'm winging it. I'm like, I don't know the answer to this. I'm just going to throw this question out. But it's the question that unlocks their thinking and draws them to say, well, yes, okay, I see this. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, even though I'm like, I had no idea that was what they were going to say. But it's being able to draw other people out and make them. And so there's a teaching and drawing out part of this as well.
But that for me is finding the thread that you're going to pull.
Yeah, and for that, I think I liken it to sort of like either a QA process, right? So if you've done QA engineering at all, or quality assurance, I think that helps a lot here. Those types of skills, right? Or root cause analysis, right? So the 5 whys process, for instance, not the 5 whys. That's different. It's the 5 whys.
We always go to national security. Why do we always go to national security?
Because it starts there, right? That's where it started from. That's, critical infrastructure and all. But, having a process where you're never satisfied with one answer and you always know how to dig deeper, but you're pulling out information, right? And so you're getting deeper and deeper on layers, and you have to. You don't start at just the context and then stop there. With taking a process where you, like QA, or like RCA, where you're always digging. What is this? Why does this exist? What's below it? The Socratic method works too, I guess, but it's really combining those because you want to pull out answers. You don't want to pre-guess answers. You want to predict them, but you don't want to presuppose them. And getting to the inner shell, I guess, is what we really need to do when threat modeling. And it's those are soft skills, right? Those are very much soft skills on how you deal with people. You have to have your personal skills. You have to have empathy, right?
But wait for a second.
Yeah.
That's where I wanted to fork the thing a bit. Okay. So we touched on the sort of technical skills, sort of like the subject, the matter of threat modeling. But soft skills, I would say that they help make an expert. They may not be if and only if. But at the same time, we have to look into it and say, okay, I personally know people who are not technical, who don't have that thing to identify the thread, but they are amazing soft skills, people who understand the methodologies and who understand the dialogue around the thing. And that makes them great people who can lead threat modeling sessions. Does that make them great threat modelers?
I would say no.
Well, that's an interesting question. So what's the role of a threat modeling facilitator or leading a session?
It's to draw out the answers from the other people. I think of facilitation is primarily an educational opportunity, right? Because if your model is, we're going to facilitate threat models forever, you're never going to scale threat modeling to anything. You're always going to be limited by the number of facilitators you can put in place. I see facilitation as I'm teaching these people how to threat model by asking the right questions at the right time, so that next time they can do this themselves, or they can lead a session like this where they're asking the questions because they've seen the methodology that I'm using.
But to take it at your more basic level, though, is the threat modeling facilitator actually doing threat modeling? Or are they just simply connecting people who are actually doing the threat modeling?
I think they're connecting people, but they're not an expert. I would not say that a great threat modeling facilitator is a threat modeling expert. Because if you can't do it on your own, like a threat modeling expert can threat model something by themselves and come up with a great result. And they can also, in my world, they can lead a group of people in an educational experience where those people leave the session with a better understanding of how to do threat modeling.
So the the great threat modeling facilitator is not an expert threat modeler. Is every expert threat modeler a great threat modeling facilitator?
I would say no, that doesn't make you. I would say if you can't facilitate a session and where other people walk away with more knowledge and experience about threat modeling, if you can just sit in the corner and do it by yourself, you're not an expert. Not in my book.
That's not the question he asked. Is every expert somebody who can be a good facilitator?
Oh, the answer is, it would have to be yes, according to what I just said in my mind.
Let's go with
that. But is it?
Well, okay. So think about the experts that we consider for threat modeling today. Are they all good facilitators?
I haven't sat in
yes.
sessions with every single one of them, but the people who I consider experts have given me enough indication that if that was the case, they would be good at it.
And we sat with them through both the Threat Modeling Manifesto and the Threat Modeling Capabilities projects, all the people we're talking about here. And so seeing them interact in those environments is what tells me they can facilitate a threat modeling session, just based on hearing them interact in that forum and share ideas and push boundaries. And, you know, the way that we did that with so much respect for everybody that was there. That's my kind of assurance that those people are all expert facilitators and expert threat modelers.
And yet, very strangely, with very, very, very personal approaches to it. So while we may be talking about, that methodologies for threat modeling, we haven't, what I have seen at least, is very personal methodologies for facilitating. So it seems to me that those soft skills are definitely personal and distinct from the practice of threat modeling itself. Complementary, but distinct.
I would rephrase that a little bit. There's the process of threat modeling in particular methodology, like how to do stride, how to build DFDs. So those are technical things. And then you have the ways in which you do facilitation or teasing out that information or, pulling on threads, which are not encoded anywhere, right? Those are, somebody wants to use psychology, somebody wants to use games, somebody wants to use whatever. There's flexibility there, right? But you do stride, and you may do variants of stride, but you do stride, or you do Linden, or you do Sparta, or you do whatever, right? You're doing some methodology, which is following a process, right? This, I guess, if we think about like Hogwarts, right? And there's the spell, which is codified, and then you have the flavor and the flourish and the approach, which may be personal. And so we keep living on Hogwarts and not D&D, but that's okay. This is it. I'm more of a gamer than a Hogwarts person, but anyway. So I think that there's opportunity for personalization in this process and still be an expert, right? You don't have to write that all down. So let's take us in a little bit other direction. Does somebody have to be a good evangelizer of threat modeling? So there's one thing to
Whoa.
facilitate. There's another to spread the word of threat modeling, right? Get others to want to do threat modeling or find value in threat modeling without actually having done it yet. Is that part of being an expert?
I would say that no, in the same sense that the facilitating is. But it's interesting to me that the image that's popping up in my head now is a person in a conference room. Being alone, they can know how to do the threat model. Having a lot of people around, they know how to facilitate that session. Standing in the door and screaming outside to bring people in is evangelizing. So how much of what's happening in that room makes them an expert?
So let me flip the question around then. So can you, if you are not able to move threat modeling forward inside of an organization, are you still an expert?
I would emphatically say yes, because scaling that practice and bringing it to the whole organization is such a huge challenge, and by itself requires so much different stuff that I think doesn't belong in threat modeling by itself, that I cannot put both things together.
I'll go happy medium here though and say, if you evangelize threat modeling, and by evangelize here I mean you talk about it, maybe you give a training session, maybe you do a presentation to an org or a portion of the org, or you just talk to people who are curious on the topic, and they take action on your behalf or at your, I won't say direction, but at your, as a result of that interaction, they take action and do threat modeling. That I think is on the path to being an expert in threat modeling. You have encouraged others to take action, and they have. Can you move that forward? Say you move the needle forward on an organization-wide adoption of threat modeling. That's a stretch. And for all the reasons Izar mentioned and more, that is a very non-trivial thing, especially a very large organization, where if you don't have the ability to travel or communicate effectively, or there's other roadblocks in your way, right? There's always the not invented here, why are you bothering me kind of security thing, right? So I think you don't necessarily need to be able to scale an organization, but I think if you have the ability to communicate with people about the topic of threat modeling, and they take action as a result of that communication and improve their capability, then you're demonstrating your expertise.
Yeah, I think I'm falling more on, I think this is an odd conclusion because Matt, you're kind of in the middle. Izar's on you don't have to be scalable or programmable. You just have to know threat modeling. I'm going to come in on the far other side, right? Because I think for somebody to be an expert, you could say like, hey, you're just an expert in the topic, but you sit over there off to the side and you do great threat models, but you don't make anybody else better. To me, that's not an expert. Like you have to make other people better through evangelization and through the ability to scale the thing, which is what Adam did in Microsoft, right? Like Adam has all of these pillars that we're discussing here in his origin story at Microsoft.
Yeah, but yes. Back to the threat modeling manifesto. When we talked about the hero threat modeler, we were bringing out there the anti-pattern that threat models should not happen in a dark room somewhere and live there and not go outside.
Right.
So we were addressing the utility of a threat model. Yet that does not negate the fact that if a threat model happens that way, and by some feat of archaeology, somebody finds it and actually makes use of it, the threat model itself is not going to be worse or bad. It can be a very good threat model. It just happens against the pattern that we saw as good.
But is
So
the
that
person is a person who built that threat model an expert?
That's my point. If that person has 20 years of threat modeling under their belt and they did lots and lots of threat models during all those years and they made all the mistakes and they corrected all the mistakes, it just happened in a vacuum. Does that make them less of an expert?
Does time and service is time and service required to be an expert?
No,
I don't think it gets you. I don't think you can. Someone can say you're an expert because you've been doing something for 20 years. I've been driving a car for 35 years, and you could argue I'm not an expert at that. Formula One's not calling me saying, "Chris, you got 35 years. We'd put you in one of these cars and get you to work."
No, but wait. There's a problem here in the analogy. Driving a car and being a Formula One driver are very, 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 very different things. They may share the same mechanics of holding something and changing.
They all have
Kids,
four
once
wheels.
upon a time, there was a clutch thing. So it may involve the same mechanics, but as a skill, they're completely different, right?
No, driving is the skill. Max Verstappen is the best in the world at driving a car.
Nobody's telling you that you go to driver's end and you learn how to take a turn at 4G. But in the same way that a Formula One driver does.
You didn't go to the same driver's ed class I did then. So
I
went to Sears, baby. Sears was teaching us some 4G turns. Come on.
I never ruled with you. But my point is that even if the basic skill is the same, the requirements to fulfill it are completely different. You don't put a Cessna pilot in the space shuttle and say, land this thing, because both things fly, so you should be able to do it, right?
You should be able to.
Once upon a time, people had to land.
If you're an expert pilot, you should be able to take your Cessna knowledge and apply it to the space shuttle.
Kids, at one time we had a space shuttle.
We don't fly space shuttles anymore.
But anyway, so my point is, perhaps somebody in a Pacific island somewhere is very busy threat modeling for the past 20 years by themselves. And if they stepped out of the island and said, I do this thing, I look at what can go wrong, and I'm very good at looking at a palm tree and saying, how long is it going to take for the coconut to fall? What I'm saying is, just because they were alone doing that, we shouldn't look at them as less of an expert in this thing that they became very good over time, right? Just because they were by themselves.
So they're a self-proclaimed expert.
Well,
No. We could proclaim them experts based on the knowledge and experience that they accumulated,
Based on their
even though
20
it happened by itself.
Even though it was done in a vacuum.
I think that what I'm getting to is demonstrated skill. Like, if I had a person who came through the most gregarious corporation ever, and everything is public, and everything is shared, and everything is, what was the name? Socialized. And I have the guy that came from, or the person that came from the Pacific Islands and only got input from a message in a bottle. If both of them can show me skill, I'd be glad to call both of them experts.
I think you're being too liberal with your expert tag. If everybody's an expert, nobody's an expert.
There is something to that, but again, I'm not
are we
calling
handing out
everybody.
I'm gonna make threat modeling trophies and start handing them out to people.
No,
You get a trophy, and you get a trophy.
But I'm not calling everybody an expert. I'm saying that if you come and you show me what you did, and I recognize that as expert level work, then I have no problem calling you an expert. However you grew up in that experience.
So your origin story doesn't matter. It's what you can do. It's what have you done for me lately? What can you do?
It's what you put on the table.
Measure.
Yeah.
is that whole true for other experts?
No,
Is somebody who is capable? What separates somebody who's capable versus somebody who's an expert?
They rise to the
that's a
upper
good
echelon.
question.
Upper echelon. Like, use a basketball example for you. I know you guys love sports, right? But I mean, You know who Michael Jordan is, though, right? You know
Kids,
the
one day there was
history.
a basketball player named Michael Jordan.
Yes, but he was arguably the best at what he did.
He knew
Probably
the game.
best.
Yeah, he knew the game, and he was good and better than others at scoring points, which was the aim of the game.
But he was driven. But it was a drive inside of him for success. And it's almost comical, some of the things that he would create things in his own mind that people that pretend that people like said something that kind of, and then he would go off and score 50 points. Come to find out, the person didn't even say it. He made it up in his mind to challenge himself to go to that upper level, to go beyond wherever he had gone before.
So let me ask you something about him. When you think about it, was basketball the same before and after him?
He inspired others to do great.
Yeah, I mean, Kobe Bryant.
No.
Kobe Bryant
Did
said,
he change? Did he change basketball?
Not the mechanics of it.
No, he didn't change the rules. Didn't change the game. Now, I mean, how people play basketball today is different. There's just a different. The game has changed, but I wouldn't say it was any individual person. It was the entire group of people that changed it over decades.
Everyone stepped up, though. We're talking competitive sports here, so this is different from, obviously, we're straying a bit from a non-competitive activity like triathlon.
Because this is where I'm pulling it to now. I could say that an expert is someone who is at a point in their understanding of the thing that they are able to advance everybody else's understanding of the thing. So if we want to step back from my thing with the isolate case and the very shared case and say, okay, no, those two could not be called experts the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Then my next step is to say, okay, an expert is someone who has mastered the craft to the point that they can put back something into the craft that makes the craft better.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the sports example, Jordan did push a lot of people to become better in future generations of basketball through his example and his competitive fire. Like, he did drag people along on his own team. He dragged people along that would never have been as successful as they were because they rode on his cape almost but he forced them to raise their game to a level that they would have never been at. And I think that's another mark of an expert is you cannot be an expert if you don't make other people better.
Yeah.
Like,
I think we see that across the board, right? With esports, as with, like, I'm a big gamer. I don't consider myself an expert in first-person shooters, but when I play with experts, I up my game, right?
Yeah.
And so, I think that's that. And obviously, threat bowling is not a competitive sport.
It should be.
But the analogies. Well, okay, if we made it a competitive sport, and that would be a completely different episode, we should definitely do.
I want to remind everybody that you can tune into ESPN and see competitive Excel.
Yes, you can. Yeah. Yes, you can.
Wait,
so
what?
The idea. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Hold on. Pause. Rewind. What are you talking about? You're making this up?
No. It is totally real. There are people who compete at Excel.
Is this like on ESPN Ocho?
It's like it's an esports. It's an esport thing that people do competitive spreadsheet.
So they give like a challenge of like, create a formula that can calculate pi and then divide it by income tax.
Yep. Massive mail merges by hand. It's just.
So if you go into the site of the Financial Modeling World Cup,
no way,
you will see that Excel esports is an actual league thing. Okay.
Financial modeling what was it? Financial modeling
fmworldcup.com.
Financial Modeling World Cup.
I can honestly tell you, it is the most boring esport ever.
Whoa, $25,000 prize. We're in.
Yeah.
We're starting you have got to be kidding me. Sign up for the season.
So this is the early December 2024. It's going to be the finals, okay, at the HyperX Arena in Las Vegas. So if you have insomnia, this is for you.
or if you're just super into spreadsheets.
And remember,
merch. You can get a jersey from the Excel Esports jersey. Like you can wear your jersey.
speaking of which, before we close this episode, I want Matt to model the T-shirt.
Oh, please do.
Yeah, the back, please.
Oh my God,
the
I'm
back.
going to try and turn around here without falling over.
Wow,
The
it's like a
back, the
fashion
back.
show.
There
it
you
is.
go. Welcome to the Security Table Podcast T-shirt official, soon in the merch sites near you. Sold only in Australia and in any gym close to you.
But wait, the people who listen to our show go to the gym? What?
One of them
We,
does
we know about the one that screams at us in
in the gym.
In
All right,
the
well, I
gym.
think it's time to draw this very odd, strange conversation to a close. I think it's always fun to think about a concept like expert, because it's such a loaded term and there is so much depth to it. So I think it was fun. And I think we just scratched the surface of, there's likely a lot more we could unpack to define what makes somebody an expert.
For what it's worth, I consider both of you experts.
Well, thank you.
I think you're an expert too, Izar.
Yeah, but I'm looking for an island somewhere to go be an expert there.
Yeah. I mean, and
You
I would just,
you have to be an island of at
close-
least two, so you can tell others, right? 'Cause that way you can.
And-
Oh
and
yeah, that's important.
To close, I think you guys are like pretty okay at threat modeling.
I'll take that. I'll up my game next time.
I'm just kidding.
I
You
will
guys
read
have
the
written the
book.
book. I mean, we didn't even get into writing a book as part of demonstrating expertise. I mean, you guys have
Or-
written.
It's
or-
pushing
or-
the boundaries forward,
Well,
right?
or inventing a new methodology or whatever,
Sure.
right? So
Yeah.
Yeah, but the book is such a big undertaking. You know, as you guys, I don't even really know the depths you guys do. You've lived it and gone through it. But
Speaking of which, we should go right, huh?
all right. Well, hey, folks, thanks for listening in to this episode of the Security Table entitled "Expert or Historian?" ?
World Cup of Threat Modeling coming soon.
And the World Cup of Threat Modeling coming
That's the
soon.
next step.
Get your jerseys at Izar Terendach's Shopify.
I think that Chris, you should call the next. Is this next week the threat modeling tournament?
That's a
thing that
couple
you're
weeks. Yeah, a few weeks from now.
You,
we're doing
you
the
should
tournament.
call it the World Threat Modeling Cup.
There you go. I'm doing that. I was actually joking about the fact that this Excel Esports was on ESPN 8. This has got to be a spoof. You guys
No,
are
dude,
messing
no,
with
it's
me.
totally real.
No,
I've seen it.
totally is.
I've seen it. You guys
Yeah.
are messing with me.
Yeah.
There's a little thing at the bottom that says Excel Esports, ESPN 8, the Ocho,
Okay, so listen, I was
which
I
was from
in a-
Dodgeball.
No, wait. I was in a hotel. I went it wasn't a conference. It was some work thing. I flew in. I got to the
Oh,
hotel. I dropped my things. I turned on the TV. It went straight into the ESPN. And as soon as the commercials went out, there was a spreadsheet in front of me.
I didn't see it on ESPN. I saw it on like G4 or something like that, where they do esports and BattleBots and whatnot.
This
Um,
is actually
and-
real.
And I have a
I'm
witness.
watching a video of somebody doing this. I
and I have a
I thought you
witness
guys were
watching
messing.
it. No, it's totally real.
I think that we just threw his Monday out of this.
Dude, I'm going to watch this. I'm watching
I'm
it. It's an
enjoying
hour-long competition. I'm like, yeah, go get him. Put a look up. X look up. Come on, you got this. All right, with that, folks, we're gonna wrap up this episode. See you later.
We
Bye.
have to.